Thank you so much, Reem, for this excellent presentation of the FGM Global Youth Network, and also a brief of the roundtable that transpired back in November. Now, without further ado, I'm going to give the floor to someone a very special colleague that I respect, and she's the leader and of leading our Wakaro office, regional office in Senegal, to officially launch the Global Youth Consortium. Miss Argentina Matvel Paisin, UNFPA Wakaro Regional Director. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Madam Moderator. It's always very difficult, of course, to speak after my Deputy Executive Director. She's so eloquent. And of course, the very passionate rendition of Her Excellency, the Ambassador of the UK. But still speak I must, so I will. The UN Assistant Secretary General and UNFPA Deputy Executive Director for Programs, Ms. Diene Keita, the African Union Commissioner for Health, Humanitarian Affairs and Social Development, Her Excellency Sesuma Minata Samate, Excellencies, the ambassadors and permanent representatives to the United Nations in Geneva, elected members of the Executive Secretariat of the Global Youth Consortium on FGM, distinguished partners, participants, ladies and gentlemen. As we commemorate the past 6 February, 2 days ago, the International Day of Zero Tolerance for Female Genital Mutilation, it is a pleasure to be here today to launch the Global Youth Consortium against FGM. UNFPA is proud to lead this initiative that strengthens the alignment of our strategy to put young people first with our global mission to ensure a world where every young person's potential is fulfilled. Young people have a very special place in our hearts. Western Central Africa is home to one of the most youthful populations in the world, with close to 65% below the age of 24. We know firsthand the tremendous value of youth as drivers and as a resource for achieving sustainable development, which is why we advocate so passionately for governments, decision makers, to make the right investment in human capital to harness the demographic dividend offered by their youthful populations. In Western Central Africa is also the region where female genital mutilation, unfortunately, is most widespread, with 17 out of the 27 highest burden countries, and hosts the top 2 with the highest prevalence with FGM in the whole world. In one of the countries, we have as high as 95%. Together with our sister agency, UNICEF, UNFPA is committed to partnering with young people and women's organizations to end FGM and all harmful practices and promote a world free of gender-based violence. Excellencies and dear partners, today, as we mark this important day of zero tolerance to female genital mutilation, I am pleased to be the person who will launch the Global Youth Consortium against female genital mutilation. This youth consortium currently has over 500 registered members from 45 countries, representing all regions: Africa, the Middle East, Asia and Pacific, Europe, and the Americas. Members range in age from 17 to 40 years of age, with the core aged between 20 and 30 years of age. Now, I call upon all of us to do everything we can to support the youth to achieve their vision of youth leading a world free of FGM by 2030. My gratitude goes to our partners and our colleagues from UNICEF and UNFPA for mobilizing the youth all over the world in their various regions to be part of this flagship initiative. Special thanks, of course, go to our financial and technical partners who have graciously accepted our invitation to engage with the young people today, a testimony, of course, of your continued commitment to a world free of violence against women and girls. To conclude, it is my distinguished honor to declare the Global Youth Consortium Against Female Genital Mutilation officially launched. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, Argentina. Thank you so much for gracing us with this encouraging and inspiring word. Dear partners and guests, it is my pleasure to introduce you the new Executive Secretary of the Global Youth Consortium, Dr. Costley Aderbijit, who has just been elected into office for a 2-year mandate. Costley is a survivor of female genital mutilation, and we all met her in Dakar in November. She's a powerful, and I hope she gets to share with us her motto that derives from her own name, who is doing amazing work to end FGM in her country, Nigeria. Welcome, Costley. Costley, you describe yourself as a young girl with a tall ambition to end FGM globally. You now found yourself as the head of the first Global Youth Consortium on FGM, with over 45 countries represented and over 500 members from across the world. We would love to hear how you got started on this journey of combating FGM in your community. Over to you, Costley. Costley, are you here with us?
Thank you very much, Miriam. I'm excited to be speaking with you both, Miriam. I'm excited at the beginning of another era in the fight against female genital mutilation on a global stage. Well, my journey into advocacy to end female genital mutilation started with me not wanting any other girl to be subjected to FGM. And this is because of my share of the complication as a survivor. Let me quickly say that 200 million women alive today lives with a form of FGM complication or the other. This is a too high number for comfort, and concrete action has to be taken to end female genital mutilation. So after realizing that the apparent lack of education on FGM that my grandparents and parents had made them subject me to the harmful procedure, I have since channeled my anger and energy into making sure that no girl ever goes through this again, not just in my community, but anywhere in the world. I've had the privilege of working with so many passionate young people to achieve varying degrees of success against FGM. And I must quickly mention some of those, which includes engaging over 2,000 girls as advocates against FGM in an annual adolescent bootcamp supported by UNFPA over the past 5 years. We've also trained a lot of girls to be surveillance team in their communities during COVID-19 pandemic. Well, as a medical student, I also founded a non-governmental organization with the sole mission of putting an end to violence perpetrated against women and girls. But I must say that some sad cases, like that of a 2-year-old girl whose story trended heavily across all social media spaces, who was caught after her mom refused, but her dad went further to give her consent with her grandmother, reminds us that there's still a lot to be done to end FGM. I must say that this is the time to yield the advocacy to find female genital mutilation to young people, which population represent the next generation of young parents and the most likely accessories to perpetrating these traditional practices. I must say that we are on a journey and there's surely no stepping back. I have survived quite a number of challenges, from threat to kidnap to physical violation, and I've just gotten a new mandate, which is to work with young people globally to end FGM by 2030. And this is what reflects the young girl with a tall ambition to end FGM And now is the time to really work very hard to ensure that we achieve this. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Cosly, for sharing your inspirational journey. About 14.8 million girls are expected to undergo FGM in your country, Nigeria, from now to 2030. In your opinion, what specific role can young people play to prevent this from becoming a reality, especially now that you are practically leading the Global Youth Consortium? How can you leverage on that? Over to you.
Thank you very much, Muriel. I must say that young people have a lot to do to prevent this frightening likelihood from becoming a reality. It is really frightening. The current generation of young persons have demonstrated a lot of ingenuity in utilizing innovation to solve problems. And then they've done this across all sectors, and they must bring those innovations on board now to end female genital mutilation. I must say that there's a desperate need for collaboration amidst young people rather than competition. We need a lot of knowledge sharing sessions. We need joint actions, which are some of the major plans that I would like to bring on board at the Global Youth Consortium. Young persons must come together to provide education to their uninformed relatives, community members, friends, and others within the circle of influence. We must speak up, and there is no better time for such conversations and actions than now. We would speak up now that we're calling for more investment to end female genital mutilation by 2030. Young people will rise to this challenge and would achieve this. I believe in young people, and I know that young people are not just leading in the future, but they're also leading right now. Thank you very much. Okay, so if you would also permit me, you've asked me 2 questions. I would also like to put a question forward to Madam Regional Director and Ms. Argentina, if you permit me to do this, Muriel.
Yes, please, you may. Over.
Okay, thank you very much. Nice speaking with you in person, Ms. Argentina. I would like to ask Madam Regional Director, the Joint Program on Female Genital Mutilation has identified 31 priority countries to end FGM by 2030. Can we count on the UNFP and UNICEF offices in these countries and regions to support young people in the fight against female genital mutilation? Ma would like to know how UNFP and UNICEF can help us at country level to reach even the furthest communities where FGM is being practiced. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Costley. Of course, we can always trust our young people to keep us on our toes, and we hope you continue to do so. You're right. We at UNFPA here in this region, we have a motto, a tagline that says, "Put young people first," and we mean it. And that is why at the community level, at the global level, in our region here, in all our country offices, as you know, we have representatives in all countries in this region, West and Central. We make sure that we have youth groups, so either associations representing young people or individual young people with ideas. We bring you together very regularly. Now, UNFPA, of course, being a UN entity, we work at different levels. We work, for example, with governments and decision makers to make sure that they understand the policies. We work with them to update or put in place proper policies. But we also then work with both governments and community-led organizations, which we call implementing partners, be it NGOs and others, where we provide technical and financial assistance to whoever we call implementing partners. And young people fall under the category of our partners, be it directly implementers or partners in our wider advocacy. And that is why we always make sure that we want to consult with you so that you point us also in the right direction. It is you who have the right language to reach out to your young people, because even though we target decision makers and gatekeepers at the community level for social behavioral change, or the change of some of the negative norms, FGM being one of them, and child marriage, we fully trust that it is really the people, it is the young people with your power to transform, to be open and to want better lives for yourselves, who have the best, who will be the biggest driver in this movement. So I can only commit to continue working with you, making sure that you have the right data, the right analysis of the situation, because UNFPA is the lead agency together with UNICEF in this global fight against female genital mutilation. But we also have, we sit on a large data of a large, resource, which is the census that we work with governments. We also analyze DHS, demographic health surveys, and we conduct regular surveys out there because obviously we have a bit more resources than the young people, and we have the global mandate. So we'll make sure that you always have the right data, the right evidence to do your work, but also to provide you where needed, where you're organized with the right financial assistance, and amplify your voice as well near governments. So keep us on our toes. We like that. We need that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Argentina. Thank you so much, Costly. The youth, you heard it from Argentina. She's really calling on this much needed investment in building partnership, in mobilizing allies, including men and boys, women's group, community leaders, government, to help eliminate the practice. Thank you so much for your support. Now I'm going to hand over to the newly elected Secretary General of the FGM Youth Consortium to also announce her team and also pass on the mic to Mr. Jacinta Colley, the Deputy Executive, to formally introduce the Global Youth Consortium guiding document, and later on we'll have a poetry performance by Fatima Gomez. Over to you, Costly.
Thank you very much, Muriel. Thank you, Argentina. That is very, very inspiring. You said something that is very important, that young people should keep everyone on their toes, so should keep UNFP on their toes, and then you can also be very sure that on the part of young people, we will definitely deliver. So I have the honor today to introduce the new executives of the Global Youth Consortium against FGM to everyone. So I'll start with Mr. Jacinta Colley. So can you please unmute yourself and introduce yourself to the audience, please? Over.
Merci beaucoup, Costly. Bonjour à toutes et à tous. Je m'appelle Jacinta Colley. Je suis le secrétaire exécutif adjoint mondial. Je viens du Sénégal et je suis un jeune activiste contre les mutilations génitales féminines et toute forme de violence à l'endroit des femmes et des filles. Ravi d'être avec vous et ensemble, nous allons mettre fin à l'excision.
Thank you, Yasin. I would call on Rainatu. Rainatu, please, can you introduce yourself?
Okay, good afternoon to your excellencies. My name is Rahinatu Ibrahim. I've worked with the development field for 6 years, over 6 years now, and I'm passionate about ending harmful practices such as FGM. And currently I'm with UNFPA Ghana as a youth leader fellow, where I support and achieving their 3 strategic goals. And nice to meet you. Thank you.
Thank you, Raina. So, Dr. Awal, please, can you introduce yourself? You can unmute if you're here. Okay, Leshan, please, let's have you introduce yourself.
Thank you very much, Your Excellencies. My name is Leshan Kireto. I come from Kenya. I was recently elected as the Undersecretary for Resource Mobilization and Partnerships. In Kenya, I serve as an anti-FGM activist, an award winning, having been awarded by the President last year. I also serve as the chairperson of the UNFPA Kenya Youth Advisory Panel. Pleasure to meet you all. Let us end FGM. Thank you.
Thank you, Leshan. Doris, let's have you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, the ambassadors and the panel of judges present. I want to say I'm Doris Ikechukwu from Nigeria, the Deputy Undersecretary for Resource Mobilization and Partnership. I've done several work on FGM as a focal person Inspiring Generation and Humanity Support Foundation and in several civil society organizations. I'm highly honored to be given this opportunity to serve at the FGM Global Consortium. I believe I'm going to serve to my capacity with other young people. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Doris. Unfortunately, Mariam is not here. She took permission because of the network in our country. So we'll go ahead to Esha. Esha, please, let's have you.
Thank you so much. Good evening, good afternoon. My name is Esha. I am from Kenya. I'm passionate about gender-based violence and working with people to realize the end of FGM in the year 2030 is something that I really, because I believe if young people are invested with the right resources, then they're able to do it. And if we intend to end FGM, then there's no other place to look other than investing in young people. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Tony, can we have you as well?
Hi, good morning, good evening. Actually, my name.
Okay, Winnie, if you are here, please, can you unmute yourself and introduce yourself?
The next one.
Okay, these are the very powerful young people that are going to be working with young people across the globe to end female genital mutilation by 2030. If we believe in the power of young people, then we know that this is achievable. I'm also going to ask the regional directors to introduce themselves in a sequential order. So can we have the regional director for the West and Central Africa introduce himself, Baboka? Okay, so if we can't hear from Baboka, can we have the regional director for South Africa and East Africa introduce herself? Merci.
Thank you so much, Cosly. Good afternoon, good day to everyone, Your Excellencies, ambassadors, and all UN representatives. All protocols observed. My name is Masi Chelangatiago from Uganda. I am the sub-regional President, East and Southern Africa, and I'm glad and excited to take part in this initiative by the youth to end FGM across the globe. Thank you so much. I am a lawyer by profession, and I work as a project assistant for peace, advocacy, and gender empowerment, a non-governmental organization. Thank you.
Thank you, Messi. I mean, regional presidents are very powerful young people that are going to be managing their regions to ensure that we zero down FGM. So if we have other regional presidents, please, you can unmute yourself and introduce yourself. Okay, do we have any other person connected? Okay, great. Thank you very much. We'll move to Tony. So Collie, you can have the presentation now. You have the floor.
Merci beaucoup. Je vais partager l'écran. Je vais vous présenter le document du consortium pour que vous puissiez avoir un aperçu de qui nous sommes et ce que nous voulons. Et ça va nous permettre vraiment de pouvoir nous tous nous engager à travers les informations que nous allons fournir ensemble dans ce document. Alors, le nom du consortium s'appelle le Consortium mondial des jeunes contre les mutilations génitales féminines. Et notre vision, c'est que les jeunes mènent un monde sans excision d'ici 2030. Nous sommes en lien en parfaite corrélation avec les objectifs que le programme conjoint UNICEF-UNFPA s'est fixé de mettre fin à l'excision d'ici 2030. Et nous, jeunes aussi, nous croyons qu'il est possible que nous puissions aussi contribuer à cet abandon d'ici 2030. C'est pourquoi nous sommes mis comme vision mettre fin à l'excision d'ici 2030 et les jeunes mènent ce combat, mènent ces actions. Et nos missions, c'est nous engager de manière significative à engager les jeunes dans toutes les régions du monde. Nous voulons laisser personne en rate. Nous voulons mobiliser tous les jeunes pour que les jeunes puissent mener des activités en toutes les langues, dans toutes les ethnies, dans toutes les races et à tous les niveaux, éduqués, non éduqués, dans le milieu rural, dans le milieu urbain, que tout le monde puisse s'engager pour mettre ensemble nos efforts, que nos efforts puissent être concertés pour l'abandon des MGF avec notre génération et les générations futures. Alors, pour le but que nous nous sommes fixés, alors, notre but premier, c'est d'amplifier la voix des jeunes pour mettre fin à l'excision. Nous croyons que c'est les jeunes qui vont porter la voix des autres jeunes qui sont victimes de ces pratiques. Nous croyons que les jeunes peuvent amplifier la voix, les jeunes ont la parole, les jeunes ont les moyens avec les nouvelles technologies pour amplifier la voix et se faire entendre partout pour mettre fin à l'excision dans le monde entier. Et notre but, c'est connecter les jeunes militants, défenseurs et réseaux du monde entier entre eux. Et cela, ce consortium a été mis en place pour pouvoir mobiliser tous ces jeunes qui sont en train de s'activer dans leur région, dans leur pays, dans leur village, dans leur communauté, dans leur quartier, pour que nous puissions ensemble nous connecter, puissions partager nos expériences, puissions partager nos actions et que ce mouvement-là soit un mouvement fort, soit un mouvement dynamique. Et nous voulons aussi démocratiser les connaissances et les compétences de plaidoyer. Ça doit être à la disposition de tout le monde. Chaque jeune doit être capable de pouvoir parler sur l'excision. Chaque jeune doit être capable de pouvoir mener ce plaidoyer auprès des autorités, auprès de sa communauté, auprès de sa localité. C'est la raison pour laquelle nous souhaiterons vraiment que toutes ces connaissances, toutes ces compétences soient mises au service des jeunes avec les formations, les programmes que nous comptons mener à l'endroit des jeunes du monde entier. L'autre but, c'est le financement des plaidoyers. Nous nous sommes rendus compte qu'il y a beaucoup de jeunes qui ont des programmes, qui ont des projets, mais qui ne disposent pas de moyens, qui ne disposent pas d'appui. Et nous voulons vraiment que ce consortium soit un espace pour que ces jeunes puissent bénéficier de ces financements pour dérouler des activités de plaidoyer, dérouler des activités de communication et de sensibilisation pour une prise de conscience pour l'abandon de l'excision d'ici 2030. L'autre but que nous sommes fixés, c'est l'atteinte de l'abandon de l'excision dans le monde d'ici 2030. Nous le croyons fermement, nous croyons que nous pouvons ensemble, si les bailleurs, si les partenaires techniques et financiers, si les adultes, si les religieux, si les gouvernements croient en nous, nous appuient, nous accompagnent, nous croyons qu'ensemble, nous pouvons mettre fin à l'excision d'ici 2030. Chacun d'entre nous, et nous jeunes, nous sommes prêts, nous sommes disposés, nous sommes dynamiques, nous sommes motivés pour pouvoir mener ce combat pour mettre fin à l'excision d'ici 2030. Et pour finir, nous voulons former les jeunes de demain, les jeunes leaders de demain, pour qu'ils soient capables de fournir une orientation et d'assumer une responsabilité et des actions pour mettre fin au MGF et d'autres formes de VBG. Il faudrait que ces jeunes puissent être formés, puissent être outillés, parce que la relève doit être assurée et que ces jeunes doivent être préparés pour apporter des solutions. Les jeunes doivent être des forces de proposition et d'action pour l'accélération de l'abandon de l'excision dans le monde. Et les principes directeurs qui nous réunissent, nous, en tant que consortium, en premier lieu, le consortium des jeunes est un réseau mondial, apolitique, à but non lucratif, dirigé par des jeunes et axé sur les jeunes, d'organisations de jeunesse et d'individus travaillant pour mettre fin à l'excision. Nous ne sommes pas d'appartenance politique, nous ne sommes pas d'appartenance ethnique, nous sommes d'appartenance des jeunes. Ce que nous voulons, c'est nous tous nous unir et pour mettre fin à l'excision. Le consortium mondial est présent dans tous les continents du monde entier. Et ça, c'est l'innovation que ce consortium vient apporter. Nous sommes partout. Chaque jeune du monde entier, chaque jeune de tous les continents peuvent venir participer, peuvent venir donner leur voix, peuvent venir s'exprimer et peuvent venir apporter leur contribution pour amplifier la voix des jeunes et mettre fin à l'excision. L'autre, nous sommes Le consortium aussi n'a pas de tendance, ni d'adhésion, ni d'affiliation politique prédéfinie ou officiellement acceptée. Nous ne sommes pas d'appartenance d'une telle partie, ou bien d'une telle politique, ou bien d'une telle idéologie. Pour nous, notre seul slogan, c'est l'abandon des mutilations génitales, mettre fin à l'excision, mettre fin à toute forme de violence à l'endroit des femmes et des filles. Nous sommes un but non lucratif. Nous ne cherchons pas de l'argent pour nos propres comptes. Nous ne cherchons de l'argent pour mettre à l'aise les victimes. Nous cherchons de l'argent pour mener des activités de plaidoyer. Nous demandons de l'argent pour sensibiliser, communiquer, former. Nous demandons de l'argent pour aider les filles à se relever, à être des filles dignes, des filles responsables et des filles vivantes pour à l'abri de toute forme de violence. Et pour finir, l'innovation de ce consortium, c'est entièrement géré par des jeunes. Tous ceux qui sont autour de ce consortium sont des jeunes avec des ambitions, avec des motivations, avec des innovations et avec beaucoup de désir de contribuer à cela. Je pense que nous pouvons l'atteindre si chaque jeune, comme nous rejoigne pour pouvoir mettre cela ensemble, pour mettre fin à l'excision. Alors, notre consortium est zéro tolérance contre l'excision. Nous donnons zéro tolérance à l'excision. Nous condamnons toute forme de discrimination, selon que ce soit à partir de l'âge, que ce soit à partir de genre, que ce soit à partir de l'orientation sexuelle, que ce soit à partir de l'handicap, que ce soit à partir de la croyance, de la religion, de la nationalité, de l'origine ethnique ou de l'origine sociale. Nous ne voulons pas que personne soit discriminé. Tout le monde est invité, tout le monde fait partie. Nous luttons contre la discrimination, nous luttons contre zéro tolérance contre l'excision. Alors, les langues avec lesquelles nous travaillons, nous travaillons vraiment avec les langues officielles qui sont parlées dans toutes les instances au niveau mondial, que ce soit le français, l'espagnol, le portugais, l'arabe et l'anglais. Vous le voyez aujourd'hui, cela se symbolise à travers les traducteurs que nous avons pour permettre à chaque jeune du monde entier de pouvoir écouter, de pouvoir entendre à partir de sa langue. Alors, en partant de nos valeurs, pour nous, le consortium sera guidé par les valeurs suivantes. La transparence. Nous sommes guidés par cette transparence et nous mettons tous les moyens nécessaires, tous les politiques et toutes les stratégies nécessaires pour développer cette transparence dans toutes nos actions, dans toute la gestion financière que nous aurons à faire. La collaboration et la solidarité. Nous collaborons ensemble, nous collaborons avec tous les acteurs qui peuvent nous permettre d'atteindre notre objectif. Nous développons cette solidarité entre jeunes, nous développons cette solidarité entre nous jeunes et les décideurs, entre nous jeunes et les chefs religieux, entre nous jeunes et les gouvernements, entre nous jeunes et ces femmes victimes d'excision. Et c'est pour cela que nous croyons que cette solidarité peut s'exprimer à travers ce consortium. La responsabilité. L'innovation de ce consortium, c'est la responsabilisation des jeunes. Et je pense qu'aujourd'hui, c'est quelque chose qui est bénéfique, c'est quelque chose qui vient à son heure parce que les jeunes ont besoin d'être responsabilisés, les jeunes ont besoin d'être mis au devant, les jeunes ont besoin d'être mis à la place de décision. Nous développons aussi l'inclusion pour mettre en avant tout le monde. Nous promouvons aussi le leadership des femmes et des filles et les valeurs féministes. Pour nous, le féminisme doit être au cœur de notre organisation, au cœur de notre consortium. Alors, concernant l'admissibilité à l'adhésion, on dit toute personne âgée de 12 à 40 ans peut être membre de ce consortium. Et les membres du consortium ne seront pas limités à des individus, mais comprendront également des groupes de jeunes mobilisés, des mouvements, des réseaux, des coalitions qui sont activement impliqués dans le travail sur les droits des femmes et des filles, sur les questions de genre, sur les FGM, sur la santé et sur les droits sexuels et reproductifs des jeunes et sur la violence basée sur le genre. Les membres doivent adhérer en postulant via un portail en ligne. Tous les membres doivent être enregistrés sur la base de données des membres. Le nombre admis ne sera pas limité compte tenu de l'évolution démographique des jeunes. Pour la représentation régionale du genre et de la langue, y compris l'inclusion du handicap, doit être prise en compte lors de la formation, lors de la structuration, à la fois de la direction et des membres du consortium. Et ça a été aujourd'hui un challenge que nous avons réussi. Nous avons mis en place un consortium, un secrétariat exécutif qui comprend plusieurs langues, plusieurs nationalités, plusieurs régions et plusieurs personnes en situation d'handicap. Et pour les structures que nous avons le secrétariat exécutif. Voilà, le secrétariat exécutif du consortium est constitué du secrétaire exécutif. Et je pense que tout à l'heure, Dr Kosli a eu à présenter l'équipe que nous sommes. Nous sommes là, présents avec vous, et nous croyons qu'ensemble, nous pouvons atteindre les objectifs. Je vous remercie de votre aimable attention.
Bravo, 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 Hyacinthe. Et surtout, bravo à tous les jeunes du Consortium mondial contre les mutilations génitales féminines, qui est par ailleurs composé d'une équipe très dynamique, des jeunes très dynamiques, très compétents. Et j'aimerais le dire au nom de toute mon équipe, UNFPA, UNICEF, du programme conjoint. Nous vous faisons confiance pour relever les défis, promouvoir l'abandon des mutilations sexuelles féminines et l'abandon complet de l'excision à l'horizon 2030. Merci beaucoup pour cette présentation. Now I think we need to stay on time, so we'll allow Fatima Gomez to perform, and then maybe at the end of her performance, we all get ready to turn on our camera, so we'll take a group picture to officially announce the group. Thank you so much. Over to you, Fatima, when you're ready.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, Muriel. Hello, everyone. My name is Fatima Gomez, like Muriel said, and I'm so glad to be here today. I'm from the Gambia, by the way, and I'm a poet, but I want to refer myself as a femme poet because all of the poems I do are mostly of concern and issues related to women and girls. So today, the poem I'm gonna do is on FGM, and it's entitled We Promise You. It's very brief, but it has content. Okay, and here it goes. I am born in a time where there is being a radical transformation in our society. A time where I can sit in the corners of my room and speak my truth to the world. A time that's progressively easing the struggles of people with new developments. A time that strives to make everyone live fairly. A time that's ticking against time. Oftentimes, I teach my heart to be grateful for such a time. I remind my mind of how lucky we are to be in such a time. And I rub my hands to express the warmth within my body when I think about it. My lips and mouth and tongue come together to translate that warmth to very beautiful white smiles. But this joy barely lasts a minute before the pain and sorrow birthed by female genital mutilation clouded. I often wonder, why tarnish this beautiful world with the shackles of FGM? Why keep a tradition that only knows how to cause pain? Why choose to preserve the past over the present and future? And so today, my tears drop not for fear. My tears drop not for helplessness. My tears drop not for hopelessness. They're dropping maybe because I'm angry as I should, but I assure you it's mostly because of those we've lost to this practice. My tears are not a sign of weakness today. They are a sign of me gathering the courage to promise the generations yet to be born that their genitals won't be tampered with like ours. That my generation is striving to make female genital mutilation end with us. We promise to protect them. We promise to protect you. Thank you. Over.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you so much, Fatima. You deserve a standing ovation. Yes, we are all tearing because we know and we firmly believe that this practice will end with us. And this is why this global Youth Consortium was birthed in the right time, in this decade of action when we really need more powerful voice to join this journey. And there's a lot of comments in the chat group. I will not read them, but what I'm going to ask anyone that have expressed interest of joining the consortium, some of the leaders will either send you the WhatsApp group where you can directly join, and they will also share information. So without further ado, I just want us to take a few seconds to all of us open our video so we can take a group pictures before I hand over to my colleague, Monica Farrell. And please, I must thank you all because we are right on time. Thank you. Are we ready for the group picture? Agnes, Jacob, can we?
Please, can we kindly turn our cameras on if possible, so we can take a quick snapshot? Thank you.
Beautiful smiles.
Done, Mire. Please go ahead.
Thank you so much, Agnes. Thank you so much, our colleagues in Wakao regional offices. I'm now excited to hand over to my colleagues, Monica Farrell, who will take us through the next session. Quite exciting because that session will be basically the newly elected Youth Consortium Secretariat leaders and a dialogue with also the UN representative in Geneva. Over to you, Monica. Thank you.
Almost forgot to unmute myself. Thank you so much, Michael. Thank you, everyone, for this wonderful event. It's really a privilege to be part of the launching of such an important compact. And we've heard why it's important to invest in youth. We've heard all the reasons why they should lead a conversation that impacts them strictly, and also because they are the decision makers, they are the leaders of advocacy, they are the innovators, and we will hear many more reasons why we should invest in them. But this is another panel, and this segment has a twofold objective. First, we're going to introduce the case, why it makes a difference to invest in youth to prevent and eliminate FGM. So we're going to have an investment case, and we're also going to have a dialogue among youth activists and some very senior and some very committed global leaders, partners on this topic, and we couldn't be more happy for this. So we've heard that the global youth consortium on female genital mutilation was born out of a need to center young people in programs targeting the elimination of FGM. So it was launched at a global youth roundtable on FGM, organized last year in Senegal. And the main outcome is really the establishment of this global youth consortium. And young people collectively have developed a strategy with a vision of youth leading a world free of FGM by 2030. And we just heard the new leadership of the consortium. And currently, as Mireille was also saying, the membership of the consortium stands among 500 members from 42 countries covering all regions. And it was just officially launched, so it's truly an honor to be part of this process. But to explain to us a little bit in detail and to make really the case for investing in youth, I'm going to invite Rainato Ibrahim and Doris Ikechukwu to present the investment case of the global youth consulting. They've introduced themselves, so I think they don't need further introduction. You have the floor. Rainato and Doris, yeah. So the PowerPoint presentation is on.
Lahinatu, are you here?
Yes, Agnes, I'm here. Doris is supposed to start with the presentation, then I come with the activities.
Okay, Doris, are you here?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, Doris, go ahead, please.
Okay.
Welcome.
Thank you, Ma. Please, Agnes, can you share the slide? Okay. Thank you so much for the opportunity to present why we have to invest in youth to end FGM. First of all, before we consider the need to invest in youth to end FGM, we have to consider the population first. Over time, according to UN, the youth persons are classified between 15 and 24 years, and the total population of the world as at currently is 7.7 billion, with the youth being 1.2 billion, having 16% of the world's population. The next slide. Then the youth presently is expected to be 1.3 by 2030 from the way the population of the youth is going, projecting 7% growth by 2030. So let's look at a review of the FGM global data presently. It has recorded so far that 200 million girls have undergone FGM, and presently 31 countries practice FGM globally, even though so many efforts are being made to stop FGM. And it's likely that 68 million girls will face court by 2030 if much measures are not taken. Next slide. So why do we have to invest in young people? We have to do that because to harness the demographic dividends, we understand that the youth have the numbers. They are the ones directly affected by FGM, and they are so active and energetic enough to carry out this desired task. So we have to invest in them. So far, you can see a lot of works youth are doing presently to end FGM. One of the youths, Leshan and Adama, have won a presidential award on their various work. That's notwithstanding, a lot of youths are carrying out various activities in various countries. That is to show that every hands are on deck to stop FGM. No one is left behind. The next slide. The youth has to be invested because they will ensure adequate inclusion of advocacy, where they will have to bring in those who are disabled, the traditional rulers, the religious ruler, the leaders, the students, men and refugees to get involved in the process. They also have to monitor youth coalition for state and non-actors. So from the left side of the screen, you can see various work our young people are doing, even some that are not mentioned here. The next slide. You still have to understand that if we don't invest in youth, it will lead to failure to harness dividends in democracy. And if we don't invest in youth, the youth have the technology, they have the innovations that will make fighting FGM much more easier, unlike every other thing that have been done. We are not saying that other efforts that have been made are not good enough, but we are saying because we have the high-tech digital skill to employ possible ways of doing things, we know that if youth are involved in this process, they will have to do much more better than what we have recorded so far. We also want to appreciate the fact for giving young people a roundtable engagement to have a roundtable conference in Senegal last year, November 2021, where FGM Consortium came into place. So we really appreciate showing that you all are making effort to see that young people are involved in the table to fight against FGM. One of us, Deborah, have an innovative, which she will be giving us more idea on what she has done and how it can also continuously help fight against FGM. Deborah, can you give us more highlights on your innovation that you recently introduced? Thank you. Deborah, are you online? Hello, Deborah, can you give us highlights on your innovation?
Hello? Activated, it is now.
Hello? Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
You can hear me? Thank you so much for this time. My name is Deborah. I'm in Uganda. I'm also very passionate about the fight and the goal to end FGM by the year 2030. So briefly about the idea on the platform, the idea we have to end FGM. We realize as young people in Uganda, we do not have enough facilities to enable us in FGM. And one of that major reason is the fact that we do not have information that is timely and accurate that can help us in the fight of FGM. Though the numbers are showing that they're really high as we speak right now, especially the reports we are getting from my colleagues at the grassroots right now because of the current situation of COVID. But we realize that we have a lot to do when it comes to getting information across. For instance, here in Uganda, we have remote villages that cannot easily be accessed. So that hinders our approach, and this is why we are developing platforms that can help policymakers and anyone that is willing and is passionate about human rights development and advocacy to facilitate the fight and information. So the idea is to create a platform, a digital platform that can help gather data anonymously from wherever the victim or potential victim is to those concerned. So this is what we need as young people, technology, and also resources as we partner together with different stakeholders to ensure that information is timely and that lives will be saved. And we believe with more information and advocacy and awareness in grassroots areas, we'll be able to promptly handle this vice and this barbaric activity going on in our communities. Young people are very passionate and they want to do this in their lifetime. They do not want to pass it to a next generation to handle. So we believe that Hasstory is one of those platforms that is going to help ensure that FGM ends, the technology through partnerships like these ones and forums will be able to get as many partners to shed light on what needs to be done and what the challenge is and what we can change. So this platform or this database system will help us enable communities and policymakers and authorities with reliable data to make informed decisions, because you cannot make informed decisions with half-baked information. So promptly we'll be able to use, say, a phone call, we'll be able to send an SMS, a victim will be able to use all these different ways to help us get information immediately in a timely manner. And while we are doing that, we'll be analyzing the patterns and where it's very prevalent and why it's not. So thank you so much for everyone that has been a part of this, and whatever you're doing in the different countries, we appreciate it, we see you, we celebrate you, and we thank you for the efforts that you're putting in place to help us remove FGM from our communities. Thank you so much for your attention.
So thank you so much, Deborah, for giving us highlights on the innovation. At least I've given a clear view of consequences of not investing in young people. It will decrease innovation dramatically. So we have to introduce Rihanna to give us more highlights on the output we want to bring into place in carrying out this desired task to make it very, very effective. Thank you, Rihanna. Can you give us highlights on the outputs?
Okay, so with the consortium, we want to build on 3 pillars. So that is education, advocacy, and innovation. So we want to put up sustainable activities that will not just end FGM now, but it will be an ending to future generation. We shouldn't just end FGM now, but we should put it in a way that we'll do activities that will cater for tomorrow, the generation, very sustainable. So we are coming up with implementation strategies, and there are 4. So we want to look at community activities, we want to look at capacity building, we want to look at stakeholder engagement and advocacy. We also want to look at strategic communication plan. So when we take the community activities, most of the FGM cases are not in the urban sector, so it's in the rural sector. So we want to give much focus with the consortium, we want to give much focus to the rural areas. So with it, we want to train about 3,000 young people in the aspect of health and the aspect of legal sector to give quality service to survivors. So with this, they say catch them young and they shall be yours forever. So if these young health workers are being catch at an early stage, it will prevent the issues of medicalization of FGM. Some countries, they have medicalization of FGM, whereby some of these health people facilitate these cases of FGM and want to prevent it now and in the case of future. So we want to train them on FGM cases, how to handle it, and how to give quality service to FGM survivors. We also want to support and mobilize young people, youth groups, and youth-led organizations on community sensitization, on outreaches, to make sure that they get to do sensitizations that will let the community members know the implications of FGM and why they should stop it. We also want to give about 1,000 scholarships to girls, especially in the rural areas. Education, research has shown that education has an influence on FGM. Cases have proven that cases where people education is high, there's a low tendency of FGM. So in doing so, we want to give 1,000 scholarship to young people and especially girls. So when these young people are being educated, they get to know the implications of FGM, and it will prevent FGM now and it will prevent FGM tomorrow, because they'll be able to pass this information on FGM to their young ones. We also want to give young people with economic skills. There's also a factor of economic factor that also influence FGM. So we want to support young people to have livelihood skills where they'll gain income. We also want to have an engagement with traditional leaders and faith-based organizations. FGM is a social norm. It has to do with how our social norms are, how these traditional leaders also influence this FGM. So when we target these traditional leaders and have an engagement with them as young people, we can help shape these harmful practices that affect young people. We also want to commemorate some of the international days that has to do with International Day for Ending FGM, 16 days activism to create the awareness of some of the harmful practices and why it should be stopped. We want to build capacity of young people. We want to make sure that young people, they are being trained in their communities how to implement sustainable activities. They shouldn't just do activities that will just be for doing sake, but activities that will help for sustainable in the future. We also want to make sure that we, the executives, we have leadership training that will also help us to know, control, and implement activities in various countries. And with stakeholder engagement and advocacy, we want to make sure that we have, there are some countries like Chad, Liberia, Mali, Sierra Leone, Somalia, Sudan, they do not have FGM laws that criminalize the FGM case. We, the young people, want to mobilize young people from various countries, meet with stakeholders, meet with international organizations like AU, the ECOWAS, to tell them that this is a harmful practice and we want it to be stopped. We want to influence and lobby for laws from our government, whereby they will put in laws that will criminalize this FGM. And countries that already have these laws want to also do advocacy and lobby for FGM laws to be more effective and more enforceable, so that perpetrators of FGM can be jailed and punished to deter people from doing FGM practices. So in case of stakeholder communication, strategic communication plan, we also want to ensure that we use innovation. Young people are very innovative, they have ideas, and we want to come up with some of the apps are already there existing, like what Deborah shared. So we want to collaborate with Deborah to scale it up in a way that it can also serve as a knowledge-based data where young people that we have trained can also rely on it So they will get guidance in how to go about FGM practices. We also want to develop health centers and support centers, whereby some of these cases that happen, you can rely on them, you can go there to report cases so that these perpetrators can be punished. So these are some of the activities we want to do. And we know that as we do this, we will be able to end FGM now and in the case of future. Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening. Thank you all for listening, and thank you for our dear partners for listening to us this afternoon. We are highly grateful. Thank you.
No, thank you. I think that this is the moment where we, all of us, more than 300 people connecting, this is the moment that we say thank you all, not only for making the case of why you should invest in young people, but also showing us the cost of not investing in young people. It's two sides of the same coin. But I think that this was really inspirational. We've heard that we actually know what needs to be done. Now we just need to do it. And this is why I'm gonna pick on Fatima's words when she was saying the time has come, was Deborah was saying we need to do this in our lifetime. And I think this really makes a compelling case why we should invest and not rest. And we should invest in youth. Thank you so much for this. I hope the PowerPoint you've just shared becomes available to everyone, because I think the argument, not only the demographic rationale, but the political leadership, the advocacy leadership that you have is very critical for us to understand fully. And we've heard from our Diane Keita, our Deputy Executive Director, saying that young people should be treated as equal partners. We've heard from our amazing Regional Director, Argentina, who actually is our host today. And thank you so much, Argentina, for having us with you, that UNFPA stands ready to give data and also analysis and of course, our commitment. And we've heard from this amazing list of young, committed activists what needs to be done. And I think that now we can bring also to the conversation engaged senior leaders, very much committed themselves, and that play a huge role here in Geneva in advocating for the end of FGM. And so it's my great honor to invite Ambassador Lotte Knudsen. She's the ambassador and head of the delegation to the United Nations and other international organizations in Geneva, to invite Yannick Gratud. She's the Deputy Permanent Representative of Norway in Geneva, Ambassador Simon Manley, the UK Permanent Representative to the UN and other international organizations in Geneva, and also Ambassador Rui Macieira. He's the Portugal's Permanent Representative to the UN and other international organizations in Geneva. And this is a dialogue, and we've heard a lot about innovation, so we're going to try to innovate here a little bit. So I will be asking some of the questions, but I won't be asking all of the questions. So let's see how this works, because we really need the virtual world to help us with this initiative. So I'm now going to start. It's my honor to ask Mercy Yego from Uganda to ask the first question. Mercy, you have the floor.
Thank you so much, Monica. Once again, good day, good evening, good afternoon to everyone on the call. Your Excellencies, Ambassadors. My question to the of the EU, Your Excellency Lotte Knudsen, is the COVID-19 pandemic increased girls' risk of being subjected to female genital mutilation. It is estimated that an additional 2 million cases could occur by 2030 that would have otherwise been averted. What can countries do to make funding for FGM more sustainable and predictable in terms of completing priorities? Thank you. That's my question. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mercy, for your question. And also thanks to Monica and Mireille, I think, for being the driving force behind this initiative. I feel very privileged to be part of this forum today for the launch of the Global Youth Consortium against female genital mutilation. And I think there's so much positive energy in this virtual room that I have no doubt you will achieve great things with this initiative, which I think is actually a real step change. Young people have both the right, but also an obligation, I think, to participate in discussions concerning your own lives and future. And we, the rest of us, we need to listen to you and take into account your views, take them very seriously, because indeed you make up 16% of the world population. And I think your aspirations have to be at the core of the political, social, and development agenda that we have today. And this is the smart thing to do, because active engagement will empower young people, girls and boys, to address the challenges ahead, the challenges of the future. But about your question, I think we all agree that ending female genital mutilation is a human rights issue. FGM is an act of gender-based violence. It's in fact a crime. FGM is a violation of women's and girls' right to health, security, and physical integrity. FGM is a social norm integrated into the cultural fabric of gender equality and discrimination against girls and women. There are already far too many victims of this harmful practice, and the COVID pandemic has undoubtedly slowed down progress towards its eradication. And elimination of FGM is a priority for the European Union. The topic is part of all our policies on gender and children. It's part of our human rights and political dialogues with countries across the world. We bring it into discussions with partner countries, regional organizations, consultation with civil society, human rights organizations, and not least local communities, which play a key role, I think, in changing perceptions. So the EU finances and supports a number of projects worldwide which contribute to bringing an end to this harmful practice, including the UNFPA, UNICEF projects that we just discussed earlier. But in the end, prevention is essential to achieve progress. And I think that depends on a lasting change in our societies. And to address the root causes, the EU also helps to finance activities which focus on health, on education, on children's rights and development, as well as the proper and effective implementation of laws and putting legislation in place. And in addition to all the efforts that we are undertaking to bring an end to FGM, we are financing a large number of projects across the world, either specifically devoted to FGM or with a component integrated into a wider development or social economic issue. Someone also just mentioned a Spotlight, and indeed the EU-UN Spotlight initiative, which is also a good demonstration of how the EU and the UN can work together effectively, aims to end violence against women and girls, and is seen as a flagship project that deals with the underlying causes of harmful practices such as GFM. And one of you just mentioned the project underway with a platform drawing on technological advantages to try to link up people with the same experience. And the Spotlight initiative is up and running in 26 countries and 6 different regions across the world. So overall, I think change is possible, and we're seeing it happen. And there's probably a stronger collective engagement than ever before to end FGM. And we need to draw on all the legal and political tools, from human rights treaties to commitments made in Beijing, Cairo, and the 2030 Agenda. And as we overall strive to implement the targets set out in the Sustainable Development Goals, number 5.3, we also need to work closely with all the victims of FGM, as well as with young persons in general. In the end, youth is the most powerful agent of change, and it's only, I think, by working together that we can make a difference and bring an end to the horror of FGM and make the world a better place for the future. So thank you and look forward to the rest of the discussion.
Thank you so much, Ambassador. That was a very rich answer in the sense that we have a lot to follow up with you and a lot of the good ideas to be developed. I think that our young activists took due note of all the areas they can work with the European Union as a whole. And now I am going to invite Rim El Shafai from Egypt to ask the second question. Rim, you are online, right? I saw you.
Okay, thanks, Marka, for giving me the floor. Good afternoon, everyone. So my question is for Minister Yannick Gertrud, the Deputy Permanent Representative of Norway. Okay, so it has been a decade since the UN General Assembly resolution on eliminating FGM. So my question is, how can we ensure a progress going forward and include young people in the efforts to end FGM by 2030?
Thank you. First, thank you for the invitation to be here today with all of you. And thank you, Ms. Eshafaya, for a very pertinent question. Now, the 10th anniversary of the historic UN resolution on eliminating FGM gives cause to celebrate global efforts, but there is certainly no time to rest and there is so much more to do. Now, even if girls today are less likely to be subjected to FGM compared to 3 decades ago, progress needs to be much faster to meet the global target of FGM elimination by 2030. And we need to engage whole communities and continue to invest and spotlight those who speak out against the practice and those who are in the front lines working to end it. Now, my country, Norway, is a long-standing advocate for a zero-tolerance approach to FGM, and we have increased our support to the UNFPA-UNICEF joint program. We continue to work closely with civil society partners, including youth initiatives on prevention. Now, we also have several programs nationally in Norway, and I would like to emphasize one particularly for you today. It's called Agents of Change, where youth and minority representatives are given tools, resources, and a support network to become anti-FGM advocates within their own communities. Now, in order to achieve the goal of ending FGM, we must engage both new and established partners with expertise, with networks, with commitment, and with presence. Norway also believes that promoting equality, comprehensive sexual education, and sexual and reproductive health and rights is essential to this work. Now, youth play a critical role in awareness and changing attitudes. Youth often challenge established truths and current norms, and that's important. We need that. And that's why it's so important and so exciting to see the Global Youth Consortium being launched here today. So that's a very nice thing to take part in. Now, we know that there are no quick or easy solutions, but as we do mark the 10th anniversary of the UN resolution, we know that change is possible when we work in partnerships, and especially when we have youth like you on board. So thank you.
Thank you so much, and thank you again for Norway's support to this agenda, but also for bringing the Agents of Change to the table. It's a very interesting initiative and very much aligned with the goals of this youth consortium, and I think it's the end goal of a conversation like this, feeding each other on good ideas. And now let's give the voice to one of our young activists. And now it's my privilege to ask a question. And my question goes to Kadiatou Konate. And my question is, comment pouvons-nous garantir que la voix de jeunes, y compris des groupes minoritaires et des zones rurales, elle est prise en compte lors de la lutte de l'MGF et la responsabilisation de tout comme nous que sommes responsables. Kadiatou?
Oui.
Ah, vous êtes là.
Oui, je suis là. Bonjour à toutes et à tous. Je suis Kadiatou Konaté, directrice exécutive du Club des jeunes filles leaders de Guinée. Et voilà, je viens de la Guinée. Alors, quand on prend un peu la question, tout au long de la réunion aujourd'hui, on a parlé de l'implication des jeunes et l'importance que les jeunes ont, que les jeunes peuvent apporter en termes d'application, en termes d'exercice, en termes de mise en œuvre des différentes actions dans l'exercice de la lutte contre les MGF dans le monde entier. Donc, ça nous montre combien de fois que les jeunes occupent une place très stratégique dans l'atteinte des différentes politiques et stratégies, des programmes de mise en œuvre. Donc, c'est au regard, en fait, de ces différents faits que moi, je proposerais de veiller à ce qu'un quota de jeunes soit impliqué depuis l'élaboration des programmes jusqu'à l'exécution en recrutant dans les différentes institutions afin qu'ils occupent des postes stratégiques, mais aussi en faisant en sorte que ce recrutement soit non seulement au niveau des zones rurales, préfectorales, régionales et au niveau national. Cela nous facilitera l'aspect inclusion sur toute la durée et sur tout le chemin de protection que nous souhaitons. Aussi, Madame Jenny Kita disait à l'entame de cette rencontre que les jeunes doivent quitter le stade de bénéficiaire, c'est-à-dire au-delà d'être bénéficiaires des différents programmes, il faut qu'on s'assure, comme ce qu'on fait déjà, que les jeunes soient partenaires d'exécution. Ça y va dans l'intérêt de tout le monde, de toutes les politiques, de toutes les actions, mais aussi de tous les environnements qui souhaitent quand même veiller à ce que cette implication soit effective. Donc, on le voit, les jeunes occupent un pourcentage très élevé, surtout en Afrique et dans les autres mondes. Donc, si ce pourcentage élevé s'intéresse et inclut, comme ça se doit dans les politiques stratégiques, je pense que nous parviendrons quand même à obtenir le résultat que nous souhaitons. Parce que les jeunes sont innovants, énergiques, les jeunes savent créer et surtout, ils savent respecter et s'impliquer comme ça se doit dans l'exercice des applications et voilà, comme on le souhaite. Merci.
Thank you, Kadiatou. It's really one of those cases, and I'm sorry I didn't introduce you in the beginning, but it's really one of those cases where nothing about you without you, because you know what works and you know what needs to be done. Thank you so much, Kadiatou. And now it's also my pleasure to invite Basma Kamel. He's Egyptian and based in the UK, an anti-FGM activist and a Salim ambassador for the diaspora, and she's going to ask the next question. The floor is yours.
Right, thank you so much, Monica, and thanks everyone. My question to Ambassador of the UK, Excellency Simon Melly. I would ask you a question. What have countries done to make sure that the voices of women, girls, and youth are heard and taken into account in their development cooperation programs to end FGM, and what needs to change? Thank you, and the floor is yours. Thanks.
Well, thank you, Basma, and thank you, Monica. Merci à tous les gens qui nous rejoignent cet après-midi, surtout tous les jeunes, and a big shout out to colleagues across the world. I mean, Basma, you've answered your own question. Fabulous interview you gave to the BBC just last month, making your voice heard. Such courage, such honesty, and I think you spoke for so many who have and continue to suffer in silence. And I think the answer to your question is, for me, it's about commitment, it's about collaboration, and it's about communities. As you may know, as UK, we have, since over the last, 10 years, we have helped over 10,000 communities across the world, representing over 27 million people with programs aimed at ending FGM. And we will continue to support the Africa-led movement to end FGM. And we're big supporters, of the Girls' Generation, with the largest ever global movement of over 900 grassroots organizations working together to end FGM. And I think today's occasion, the launch of this extraordinary consortium, listening to the voices of so many committed girls, young women from across the world, is a real inspiration to all of us. It shows that commitment, it shows that collaboration, in this case also between the NFPA and UNICEF, and it shows the importance of community-led engagement. And Monica, who's kind of leading this session, just a few weeks ago was with our human rights ambassador, visiting some of the projects which we run together in Kenya, which show the importance of that community-led collaboration with women and girls leading the effort, but in concert with medical staff, with teachers, with religious leaders and others in their communities to ensure a real community-led approach. And as others have said, you know, we have faced real challenges through the pandemic, but we need to sort of step up our effort now, working together through consortiums like this, through the collaborations and commitments that people are making today, recognizing that, as Lotta said, this is a human rights violation. It is a crime, which we need to call out, as we have done in the Human Rights Council, emphasizing also the importance of quality education, 12 years of quality education for all girls. And we need to work together. And we will not rest. And we will continue to invest to support the women and the girls like yourself, who are leading so bravely, so admirably, these efforts to end FGM.
Thank you so much, Ambassador. Thank you for your voice, and thank you for the energy and commitment that you convey when you talk about the UK's engagement with this issue. And thank you for all the support. And you were right, the mission to Kenya and the big thank you for our country office in Kenya and for regional office who organized the mission was really an inspiration in the sense of seeing how young people are leading the conversation and what needs to be done at the community level. And now, last but not least, I have the privilege to give the floor to Costly, who's gonna ask also a tough question to our last ambassador on the panel. Costly, you have the floor. We had a bit of a technical hiccup, and Costly is going to ask a question to the Portuguese ambassador, Rui Macieira. I don't find. Oh, Costly, there you are.
Okay, so I'll pass this to Leshan. Leshan, please, you have the floor.
So we have that.
Okay, Leshan, if you can hear me, unmute yourself and ask your question. You have the floor.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Leshan.
Thank you so much. Allow me to proceed and ask the question. And I would like to ask His Excellency, the Ambassador for Portugal, would you please tell us from your perspective, what type of strategic engagements would you like to see or make in ensuring that young people are more engaged in actions to prevent and eliminate female genital mutilation? To you, Ambassador. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you very much, Monica, for inviting me to the launch of this program. And thank you so much, Lishan, for your question. And let me thank UNFPA for its leadership in fighting this terrible and demeaning practice against women, a practice that seriously impairs the full exercise of human rights by women and girls. I'll give a bit of context first. And from 2007, Portugal made a political commitment to fight the practice of female genital mutilation. We adopted successive action programs to prevent and fight FGM. Our actions and policies are part of our action plan to prevent and combat violence against women and domestic violence. In fact, we were the first EU member state to ratify the Istanbul Convention, and we see fighting FGM as part of the wider combat to stop violence against women. Female genital mutilation is often associated with unequal power relationships between men and women. Often, if not always, it is associated with challenging socioeconomic conditions in the families it takes place. Also often, if not always, it is a traditional practice, and therefore it requires frank and open dialogue with the communities where it exists. This means that combating this practice requires perseverance and addressing social, economic, and cultural imbalances in the communities. For this, you need a legal framework. In 2015, our penal code was amended to make FGM an autonomous crime. We need consistent policies that are maintained over time and that are adjusted to results. We need staff in schools and medical institutions trained to detect, prevent, and support girls and families at risk. We have a post-grad course in our National School for Public Health, where we have formed hundreds of nurses, doctors, and health professionals to do this. But you also need to see results so that girls and families can feel confident that if they come forward, they will be protected and the people responsible will face consequences. Since we reinforced our policies, we have already had a couple of prosecutions, and one mother was condemned to 3 years in prison just this January for FGM against her daughter. But as important, to go back to your question, we need role models, both men and women, that the community can relate to. So you need to work with the communities, within the communities, and with their leaders, including religious ones. This is where young activists and successful members of the communities where this practice is prevalent come into play. Over the years, we found out that the impact of NGOs embedded in the communities can have. So we've established a 2-year funding line for a number of NGOs that work in the field, in the community, and with the girls. And I think finally, UN initiatives like these are important to give voice and visibility to this subject and to give young women and men a platform to exercise their activism and to raise awareness. And again, like Simon, congratulations for a brilliant interview on BBC a couple of weeks ago. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ambassador, and thank you specifically for showing what member states can do nationally, but also how they can engage with the diasporas and how can they help to enable the leadership of young people, and how transformative that can be in a community. And also the case of banning FGM by creating a specific crime following the ratification of the Istanbul Convention. Those are all excellent examples of what needs to be done in the national policy level, but also internationally. And now, last but not least, we have a youth activist who's going to answer to one of my provocations, and Leshan Careto. So Leshan, we've heard the ambassadors based in Geneva, and I know that all of you think that they spend a lot of time discussing resolutions on youth rights, on the elimination of FGM, and other very important topics. Can you please tell us what difference these resolutions make on the ground and how we can strengthen the voice and participation of youth in discussing these policy documents back here in Geneva? Leshan, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. That was great. And thank you also for the amazing work that ambassadors are doing to develop policies towards eliminating FGM and also advocating for youth rights. Also, thank you for joining us today and answering our questions. Allow me to start by saying that the youth possess the greatest understanding of their own needs. They have the creativity and the energy to see all the problems like FGM in new ways. They therefore, the resolutions that put young people first are meant to succeed, since they will tap into the creativity, time, and energy that young people possess. These resolutions that you have come up with mean that the young people are regarded as partners and not recipients or objects. With the youth as partners, it means that, one, there will be entitlement and responsibility among young people, a lot of young people across the world, to implement these policies in communities around the world because they've owned them and are ready to implement them because they are theirs. Secondly, there will also be increased innovation to create transformative change and eliminate FGM. This is through their amazing innovations, their amazing creativity, and the energy to come up with innovations that are going to end FGM, just as the way you saw earlier with Deborah presenting one of the great innovations to end FGM. Lastly, the eventual creation of a zero-tolerant FGM generation. Remember that this generation is the generation that is being affected by FGM directly. And so these young people will decide never again to have FGM in their generation. Young people should be viewed as assets and not problems to be solved. We are part of the solution and not the problems. Therefore, the participation of youth in discussing these policy documents in Geneva is important now more than ever before. Youth voices can be amplified through these ways. First of all, by youth-oriented problem identification. We need to identify the problems together. Now that we are partners, we need to do stakeholder mapping. We need to do surveys. We need to do global listening tours across the world, both online and physical, as well as make sure that the inputs of young people to guide problem and solution identification process are put in place. We also need to ensure that youth voices can be amplified by engagement through co-creation in program designing, planning, and implementation, because we're partners. We start by programming it, we start by designing it, and also we go to the ground and implement them together. This will ensure that the youth are not only understanding the policies, but clearly they are able to carry on the mantle to the implementation to the ground. Not only to implement at that time, but also to sustain it to the very, very many other generations that will come. Lastly, this will ensure that there is massive youth-targeted support. We also need to ensure that there is role sharing between us. Now that we are partners, we share roles in the implementation. We also want to ensure, and more importantly, that young people are financed to ensure successful implementation of those policies in every household or community across the world. This is the way to improve the youth voices in the policies that are being developed in Geneva. And lastly, allow me to say that the youth with their numbers represent the demography affected by FGM. Anything done for the youth without the youth runs the risk of failure. With us here today are the cream of different countries globally and the determinants of social norms of communities and cultures around the world. Listening to us today are the youth who have decided to deliver the promise of ending FGM by 2030. Therefore, let us endeavor in all of our action to engage them as partners and trustees of creating a world free from FGM. Thank you very much. Back to you, Ambassador.
Thank you. And I couldn't have better words to wrap up this session as the ones you've just used. The time is now. And for that, we really need everyone to understand that in order to be able to tap into the wonderful resource that we have in your demographics, we really need to invest. We need to invest in innovation. And we've heard a lot about innovation. And I don't want to spoil a conversation, but we also need to be mindful of the digital divide, how we presume young people have always the access to innovation, but that's not only the case. And this pandemic has shown the power of the digital world, but also how if you are disconnected, how you can be excluded from very important conversations. And this adds further to your ask, Leshan, of investing. We really need to invest. We cannot rest because we want to end FGM in our lifetime, in your lifetime. We want a world free of FGM, and we feel very proud to have played a role in this. Geneva played a role in this. And as you saw, the ambassadors are committed. They will carry your voice, they will carry your asks, and they will deliver for us. Because as Argentina said, we have data, we have commitments, we have analysis, and we are there with you. Thank you so much for joining us all this afternoon. Thank you for having a piece of Geneva with you. And we do hope to bring your voices to Geneva because, Leshan, we are partners. We got the message. Thank you so much, and wishing you all a wonderful evening, afternoon, morning, but from wherever you are connecting. And let's end FGM. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you everyone for joining. Is Nankali here? I think Mireille had to step away. Nankali, are you here? No, I think she has left. Okay, thank you everyone for joining, and it was a pleasure having you all with us here today, and we look forward to engaging with you further. Have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye to all.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you so much.
Costly.
I think Costly is still muted.
I like her outfit.
Okay, yeah, her background was very, very okay.
She looks like a Barbie. Alright, so good to see you. That
And
was
she
a
really
very
did
wonderful
very well.
presentation. Thank you very much. You look like a Barbie. Say you look like a Barbie.
Our
Yes, we represent
boss.
subculture. We represent all tribes. Yes, we represent young people across the globe. You guys are amazing. Tony, I'm sorry you could not connect initially. I don't know whether it's an issue with your network. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, actually, I had issues with the first link I shared, so I had to join the rest of the room. But you guys did amazing, and I owe you guys. Yeah, that was so nice.
Well done, Tony.
Rahina, you did well. The presentation was nice.